Whoa. So, in this video, we're gonna tell you guys decks you can build for between $50 and $100.
Yeah, let's say, you know, maybe you got some good grades on the report card, or
Christmas
it's your birthday.
cash.
And yeah, your parents or a relative give you $100 and you want to spend it on a Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
Very understanding parents.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, my parents wouldn't do that.
Yeah, so I don't think so either.
But yours might.
So, the first deck, Mermails. One of my favorites, and I know you guys probably all saw this coming. I include this in like every possible video I can. And the best part about Mermails, I think, is that they have always stayed relevant in some form or fashion. Just their design makes them always kind of a rogue, competitive contender.
And they're not really hit on the ban list at all either, so they're at full power.
The expensive card in here, of course, is Megalo. It's about 12 to 15 bucks, and you will have to have 3 copies of it. Everything else in this deck is fairly affordable.
Even Neptibus.
Yeah, Neptibus, all the Atlanteans, they're not too much. You'll need an extra deck, but it's mostly just Bahamut Shark, totally awesome, a Starboy.
Big guy.
I think you can actually get it for maybe around like 70 or 80, really and truly.
I would think the strongest benefit for building Mermails is that the extra deck, virtually everything's been reprinted.
It's not the hardest deck to get, and it's so much fun. You know, you use the Atlanteans, they get their effects and their pitch for the Mermails, and you plus your pop cards, your search cards. It's got a lot of OTKs.
Our next deck is Darklords.
Darklords.
So we're familiar with the fallen angels, the Darklords.
Yeah. Coolest theme, by the way. Can we talk about that?
Really cool theme. They're all supposed to be they're different gods and different mythologies, and they're supposed to be like fallen angels. But Darklords, they're actually a really cheap deck. The expensive card in that deck being Ixchel.
Yeah.
How much is she?
She's like 20, 25 bucks. Kind of one of those like printed only once, and
you're gonna want to have 3, so
yeah.
Her price alone drives the price of the deck, but everything else in there is cheap.
Yeah, and the way the deck works is basically you do a lot of drawing and a lot of summoning. Some people compare it to Blue Eyes, but what sets the Darklord monsters apart is that they can all pay 1,000 life points and use spells and traps from the grave.
They have banishment.
It searches.
They have
contact specials.
Contact.
They've got traps.
And the one they have the trap that snatches a monster. I can't remember.
Yeah, I forget. There's Rebellion pops cards and Darklord like enchantment. I think.
Enchantment.
Steals.
And that'll snatch one of your opponent's monsters.
And you can even throw in tech cards, Allure for more draw power. But Archlord Christie is the big one because all of your monsters are fairies.
True.
And they're all really bulky. So once you get a couple of them out and then drop a Christie on your opponent, and they can't special summon.
Not a lot they can do.
True Draco. Now, this one's definitely going to hit you at the tip of the iceberg for this budget, but it's possible.
You're gonna be right there on the cusp of hitting that 101.
Dragonic Diagram is the field spell that you will need to have 3 copies of. It searches all your True Draco cards. It pops cards for you, which triggers your spells and traps effects.
Arguably one of the strongest field spells ever made.
Definitely so. And it's about $20 or so, 20 to 25, so you'll need 3 of that.
Rightfully so.
And then Masterpiece is hovering a little under $10, and I would suggest having 3 copies, although you can get away with running 2. And those 2 cards alone are going to definitely put you close. But the good news is
everything else is cheap.
Yes, everything else is very.
That's Majesty Maiden,
Ignis Heat,
and
the spells and traps, of course.
Yeah.
The other cards don't matter as much as long as you have the core engine there.
Especially since a lot of people are going towards the Masterpiece Turbo kind of build, where you just want to make Masterpiece as fast as possible.
And this doesn't need an extra deck, which is always a huge plus, right?
True.
No need to buy.
No extra deck. Magical Musketeers.
Yes.
What's there really to say? It's Caspar, who is...
Caspar's like
18, and Starfire, who's about 12.
Yeah, you need 3 of both of those. Those are the ones that are going to drive up the price. Everything else, like with many of the things on this list, is actually pretty cheap.
What's cool about Magical Musketeers, or Magibullets as I call them, is that they use this idea of like a gunslinger and like a bullets type of
yeah, that's their mechanic.
The monsters, you know, they hold the guns and the spell and traps. Those are the bullets that you use as quick play hand traps during your opponent's turn.
Yeah, so it can be super disruptive. And then the monsters, of course, get effects when the spells and traps are used. It's kind of a meta contender. It's topped a few regionals here and there. It has its struggles, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Consistency.
Consistency is a bit of an issue, so It's one of those decks you really gotta tech it out to make the most of it. The next deck is Blue Eyes. One of my favorites. You guys should know this. I've built this deck and played it for a really long time. It's just summoning a lot of big monsters over and over and over and over and over. It's very consistent. You've got a lot of draw power. You've got, trade-ins and cards of consonants. You can run like Upstart, Pot of Desires, all these cards that get you lots of draws, get your Blue Eyes in the graveyard, and then you just summon them back. They've got, Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon can pop cards. They've got Sage to search cards, Dragon Spirit to banish cards. I've played this deck so long, it's all like...
But what puts this deck at the $100 mark?
Okay, so Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon is actually kind of pricey. It's about like $12, $13, so, gotta watch out for that. Other than that, most of the stuff is just averagey prices. So
$5 here.
Kind of like some 5s here, some 3s and some 2s. It'll get you pretty close to 100, but I think you can definitely do it in the budget.
Spellbooks!
Spellbooks. Yeah. Let's
so,
talk a bit about them.
Yeah. All right. Now, we recently got Spellbook of Knowledge.
Yeah. And spoiler, that's the expensive card.
Yeah. Spellbook of Knowledge plus Magician and Secrets makes a pretty consistent draw engine that really helps bring Spellbooks into 2018? Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, and then really and truly, I mean, that engine on its own is used in a lot of decks. So when you actually make the Spellbook deck itself, that's when you get to incorporate things like Grand Spellbook Tower, Fate, Priestess. It's definitely not a deck that's as strong as it was maybe in its prime. Give us back Spellbook of Judgment.
Yeah, power creep is a thing.
But yeah, Priestess is about $5 or $6. Fate's like $3 or $4. It really mainly is knowledge that gets the price up there. Next, we've got Invoked. Wow, speak of the devil.
Yeah, I feel like we mentioned those somewhere.
This is another one that's gonna come close. You're gonna cut it close to get under 100 because of 2 cards.
Merkaba
and Invocation. Funny enough, Alistair is like a super and worth like nothing.
Yeah.
But Invocation and Merkaba are the spell, and then the main fusion monster you'll be summoning. They're both about 20 to 25, depending for like Invocation.
But Paul, if you get 3 of each of those, that's over 100 right there.
And that's where the good news comes in, because you can actually get away with running just 2 copies of Invocation and just 2 Merkabas in your extra deck. Honestly and truly, because of the way that Magical Meltdown searches Alistair and Alistair searches Invocation, and when you use Invocation, it goes back in the deck and puts Alistair back in your hand. There's almost never a need to actually have 3 copies of Invocation in the deck. Beyond those cards, what's cool about this is that you can throw in any other engines you want.
And with the way the metagame has been going lately, a lot of those splashable engines that we would put in this deck have gone down in price. Next up, we have Red Eyes.
Red Eyes. You're a Red Eyes fan.
Red Eyes should not be on this list. I'm just gonna put that out there. The only reason Red Eyes is on this list is because of the new set of cards that came out: Slash Dragon, Baby Dragon, and Gear Freed.
Yeah, they're all oddly expensive.
And it's not that they're like so great and amazing or so rare either.
Gear Freed's like $9 or $10. Baby Dragon's like 12, 13.
Not to mention, it was a set that a lot of people didn't buy, so not many were opened.
But other than that, Red Eyes isn't a super expensive deck. I mean, like Red Eyes Fusion and Insight and all those.
Everything's been reprinted outside of those. And because of the way Red Eyes has been screwed over, built by Konami, there's plenty of different avenues you can take in building the deck. If you want to focus more on Xyz, you can. If you want to focus more on first fusions, or if you want to focus more on Slash Dragon,
they equip kind of variant, right?
You can't go wrong with each one you do.
There's a Gemini version.
There is a Gemini played
Catalyst Field.
That was a fun time.
And the next 2 decks are gonna probably get you hated by your friends, but that's okay. Don't be so mean. The next deck's Trickstars.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Trickstars. As long as you're willing to forsake hand traps, you can actually build a Trickstar deck for under $100, because the only expensive card is Reincarnation.
True.
It's about $20. You'll need 3 of them. I mean, you can get away with 2, but 3 of them and that'll run you 60. Everything else is fair prices. Candino, Light Stage.
You don't have to do the whole draw and lock thing.
But the Trickstar deck, I mean, there are Trickstars like Lilybell and stuff that aren't run as much. They even have Holly Angel that no one summons.
And a benefit for building Trickstars now is that you can invest your $100 now, and you can once again remain confident that this deck will get more support in the future.
Yeah, it is an anime deck. And the next deck might make you lose even more friends. And that
Might.
is Psy-Frames. So you can click away now if you hate us, but
Yeah, you already got through most of the video.
Psy-Frames actually should be, like, they've always been an expensive deck for some reason or another. At first it was like, you know, $50 Omega.
Whew.
But now he's been reprinted, so he's maybe only about 10.
I remember. I bought 2 of them $50 Omegas.
There's also Gamma right now, which unfortunately, because it's kind of an impactful meta card.
That's that hot hand trap.
It's only been printed once and really good.
Somebody driver get you Omega.
It is like about $25. Beyond that though, it's pretty cheap.
You're gonna have to haggle a bit on those Omegas, but he has been reprinted.
Yeah.
So you can
finesse
that.
You definitely gotta finesse it.
You
but
can finesse
you can get this under $100 or at least like right there. So
but ask yourself, $100 or your friends?
just build Psy-Frames, it'll be fine. Buy more friends later. So I think that we literally have hit like every threshold. We've done 10, we've done 20, we've done 50, and this is 100. If you haven't watched those other videos, be sure to check them out. I'll have them all linked in the description and here at the end of the vid.
If we missed any, go ahead and just throw it in the comments.
So hopefully you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe,
Hit the bell, join the squad.
and that